Welcome back, everybody. This is Nadia and Tanya with the Raw and the Real. For those of you who are just joining us and that may not know a little bit of our history, we are two community coordinators with the NB Center of Excellence. But before that, we are two moms raising children with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. Nadia, your unique piece to this puzzle is that you're the biomom. And I am, they're in the way. And anybody that's been following us knows this is completely new for us. So we're trying our best to like navigate these mics and sounds and
The
look,
raw and the real.
hence the name. Because if you know us at all, then you know that this has been an ongoing dream of ours. And we keep everything the raw. So enough of short conversations. Today's video is going to be about stigmas. And what we would encourage you to do before you jump into this one, if you haven't seen our biomom versus our adoptive mom video, to watch that first and then come back to this one, because then it's kind of like connecting the pieces of the puzzle.
Yes. That first video was, I think, what opened up for so many subjects. That's what we're going to try to do today. We're going to add a subject to it, which is stigmas, like you said, and all the stigmas that comes with the biomom, but also a part of the stigmas with FASD also, because there was just too many subjects to wrap in like one video.
Yeah.
So,
and we have a lot of stigmas and judgments with biomoms, and we have some with adoptive moms.
We do.
Right. And one of the things that I always struggle with is that I never wanted to label my son. I always wanted, my late husband and I, we waited so long to have a family that I really just wanted to have a family. I wanted that typical white picket fence house, 2.5 kids, working full time. I wanted that life, that typical life. Right. And when we were able and honored enough to adopt our son, I wanted it to be normal. I wanted it to be that typical thing where I didn't have to label it. I didn't have to have an excuse to why his behaviors or symptoms were like this. And if you go back to our other video, I didn't want to be the one blamed. I didn't break him. I didn't want to take the blame. So now I feel like I have to label him so that people know that I'm not the one that hurt him, that I wasn't the biomom.
And I think that was one of the big things for me that I learned about adoptive parents is when I started as a community coordinator, every meeting I would go into with adoptive parents, they would say it. They would present themselves and say, oh, I'm so-and-so's adoptive parent. And I was like, that's sad. That's sad that you never, oh, I'm the parent, I'm the mom, I'm the dad. It's like, I'm the adoptive mom. And I thought it was so sad that you put all that energy, all that love into adopting a child, which is a choice. You can't adopt by accident, right?
No.
You can't. So, and you have all that love to give, but you still have to put that label on. I always thought it was, yeah.
Yeah, it is really hard. And now knowing what we know and the education that we've had, I welcome the challenge. I go, I'm his mom. And then they talk to me about, well, what's he got? Like, is he, intellectual disability or what? So then I go, oh, he has fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. And they kind of look at you that, what? Huh? So that brings into my next piece of stigma. And my next is, I am so bloody tired of explaining FASD. I shouldn't have to label that I'm adoptive mom. And I shouldn't have to label what my kid is and then give you a whole 5-minute presentation on what FASD is. And then coach you to not have this judgment all like an elevator pitch. That's the only way I could do it.
And, on top of that, you're saying that side of it. And what I'm living from it is when people find out what FASD is and they'll say, oh, I'll say, oh, my child is diagnosed with FASD. And they say, oh, what's that? And then you explain a little bit. It's like, oh, so how old was he when you adopted him? No, I'm the problem. I'm the one that broke it. And, I'll say to people, I'm the bio mom. And they're like, oh, but it's not your fault. I do. Do you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's it comes with such that big stigma. Like you said, no one knows what it is exactly. And we always have to over explain, and we have to label, or people will label us for it.
Mhm.
And it's just so much with it, right?
And I think the next piece too is the other stigma, the other like big aha thing that I know it makes both of our blood boil when we see it in print, is the word preventable.
100% preventable. And look at me, I'm being raw and real right now because I'm gonna say it like it is. You know how we are, right?
Yeah.
So to be 100% preventable means that in no case will we ever get a biological mother that will have alcohol consumption before knowing that they're pregnant. So alcohol starts affecting the fetus at 17 days post-conception, and most women only find out around 6 weeks of pregnancy that they are pregnant. So it means that at the time that you start having your periods, whatever age that was, you will now have to make a decision. Will you have sexual intercourse in your life until you're done being able to procreate, or are you going to have alcohol here and there? Make a choice. You will never be allowed to do both.
Mhm.
And it is a ridiculous decision that we'd have to make. Now, don't get me wrong, when it is a planned pregnancy, we always strongly recommend that once you're educated and you know that it can cause harm,
Mhm.
that you should be careful and not. The tolerance in our research is in the Canadian guidelines is 0.
Yeah.
But over 60% of pregnancies in New Brunswick are not planned.
Right.
So that 100% preventable is horrible. And as a grieving bio mom, like when I was grieving that I broke my child, because I talk about it openly now,
Mhm.
but I blamed myself too.
Mhm.
You know, I felt very guilty too. And I still remember waiting in those waiting rooms, and I'd see the sign and I would bawl my eyes out because but I didn't know I was pregnant.
I'm really glad that you brought those signs up. So here's my two thoughts now that I have you as a beautiful soul mother, and stuff. And now with doing the role that we do with as community coordinators for the NBFSD Center of Excellence, is those pictures really kind of put a negative stigma into us because we see a pregnant belly.
I know where
Right?
you're going.
Yep. You know exactly where I'm going because it makes every one of us just our blood boil. So you see this pregnant belly and she's got a glass of wine or something. And it's like, when you think of it, it's like, and one of our coordinators had said it perfectly because she's like, well, what is it? Like a pregnant belly and you're double fisting? No, it's not that you're double fisting.
No, yeah.
And causing intentional harm, because what we know is that no mother intentionally wants to harm a child, right? So those pictures and those posters are so misleading, going back to the information that you just shared with us.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's really hard. The stigma is so strong that even the question is not well approached. And you said preventable, that word makes our blood boil, right? And very close second to me, you know me, the mom did not admit.
Oh, yes.
Oh dear.
It truly does make her blood boil. I know. It's like
Just-
ding, ding, Tanya. I love it. It's true.
But it's because we're not criminals.
Mm.
We are not criminals. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, yeah, but some people know and they drink the entire pregnancy. Well, you know what? We should not judge addictions. No one at 12 years old was looking further down in their life and say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be a police officer. I want to be an addict. That's not how it works.
No.
Right? We don't understand the milestone that it went through to end up in those decisions or to end up in those situations.
Mhm.
But I do know that not one mother got pregnant and said, oh, give me some booze. I want to create FASD. That's what I'm going
100%.
for. You know, no mom wants to harm their child before they're born. It is never intentional. And so, and we have that, she should admit. Well, first of all, if you asked her that way, that might be why. And you know, you said it so well in the other video that we told people go have a look, but you were like, those bio moms, they should be charged. You know what? A lot of us wonder if it's going to be one of the things. And I think that people don't realize that. Like, I knew I was not going to get in problem with the law, especially I knew I didn't have an addiction, which was my first thought also. See the
Mhm.
stigma that I was projecting back then before
Yeah.
knowing. But half of my family members, if not most, asked me, are you going to be in trouble because you had alcohol consumption before knowing? And I was still asked that question. So that fear is there because of the lack of education, where we have a lot of moms that are scared of saying it for fear of repercussion.
Yeah, for sure. And then followed with the judgment. Because the minute you admit,
Yeah,
the minute that you say, yes, I consumed XYZ for alcohol, then that judgment piece follows you for the rest of your life.
it will. And the biggest judgment that we will have to go through as a biological mother is from our child. And there's nothing that hurts more. And I have a lot of people saying, yeah, but you have to get over that to make sure that your child gets diagnosis so they get the help that they deserve.
Mhm.
But you're going to cause the next trauma. You know, by the day that you admit it,
Mhm.
you know, that you're causing the next trauma, because then your child will have to grieve that too.
Yeah.
You know, and my child, I'm very proud to say we grieved together.
Mhm.
There was those times where we would say, today I hate you, but I don't want to, but today I blame you. And I'd say, it's okay. Some days I still blame myself,
Mhm. Yeah.
you know, but I don't want to. So we went through it together. But even when he got used to like that he forgave me, he was still ashamed of saying the words FASD because he didn't want people to judge us as a drinking family.
Mhm. Yeah. And as the adoptive mom, the view on that is that my little guy has to always, it's like double duty, because he knows that he's adopted, and he knows that Jesus picked him and placed him with us, okay? And he knows that his bio mom loved him enough that she couldn't provide the home for him, so she chose a home that could provide for him. And that is the important piece that we carry with our son, with my son, is that he has that respect for the bio mom. So what with my fear is when he gets out into the world and he doesn't fully understand his surroundings and his environments, people go, oh wow, you're one of them and you really must hate your mom. And he's like, well, no, my bio mom loved me enough, she gave me to my real mom, right? And
That's
it's
beautiful. Like,
and
that's
it's
beautiful.
it's as simple as that, but it always is that explaining piece,
Yeah.
right? So it would be nice just to be able to familiarize and be aware of FASD so that we don't always have to explain this invisible disability, because that's one of the struggles for me.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, so your son behaves this way and he has these symptoms. Because why? Well, he's got fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. Oh yeah, so what's that? And then you have to explain it. Then you have to explain the piece of the because they go, oh wow, at least you adopted him, at least you saved him. Saved him from what? From from a mother that loved him enough that she chose a family to provide for him.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just,
There's so much work to do with the stigmas and the judgments.
it is. But you brought up a good point, I think, for our next video, which is going to be the stigmatization of the bad kid. And I think we should reflect more on that, you know, how people perceive their diagnosis.
Yep, agreed.
That's going to be a good one. On that note, thank you so much for still following us. We look forward to get to read your comments. If you have any ideas for topics, don't forget to subscribe, press the like button, and follow us for the next videos.
Bye for now.
Bye.